All right, so this class, we're going to talk about cell specialization, meaning that cells can become different things. You have many different types of cells in your body. You have brain cells, muscle cells, lung cells, and skin cells. So all kinds of different cells makes up different tissues. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the different tissues in the animal body. And finally, we're going to talk about something really controversial, stem cells, and that involves ethics. Again, very often the study of biology entails a lot of ethical concerns, and today we'll address this one. So speaking of ethics, I want to start with this really cliche, famous thought experiment. I'm sure you've seen it somewhere. If you haven't, then this is your first opportunity to think about questions such as this. Okay, now this is not realistic, but this does give us an insight into how we perceive ethics in human life. So hypothetically, okay, there is a trolley or a train, whatever you want to call it, is driving down the track without a driver. Okay, on the track there are 5 people that have been kidnapped by this evil person and tied down to the rails. They're all screaming for their lives. The train is going to crush them all if no one saves them. Fortunately for the 5 people, there is a lever that you happen to be standing right next to. You can pull the lever and divert the train onto the other track where there's only one person screaming. Well, that person is not screaming because that person knows that the train is not coming, but unless you pull the lever. The question is, are you or should you pull the lever to divert the train to kill 1 instead of 5? So yes or no into the chat. Will you pull the lever? Let's see what you guys think. Oh, wow. A lot of yeses. Okay, there's 1 no. It seems quite unanimous. Okay, it depends on who the people are. Okay, you don't know any of these people. Okay, they've never done anything to you, or you've never met them. So to you, they're the same. They're just strangers. Okay, just stop the train with the lever. I mean, no, you can't do anything except pull the lever or not. There's no hypotheticals. Okay, this is supposed to evaluate how you think and how do you perceive human life. Tokyo Drift. Oh my lord. So overwhelmingly, the class chose yes. Okay, I see like 1, 2 no's. Yeah, 2 students said no. The rest of you all said yes. And it'll be your fault if. Okay, so basically, if you pull the lever, it's kind of your fault that 1 person died, and if you don't pull the lever, you didn't really do anything. Okay, I see that logic there, but if they're pretend that you will not be persecuted by the law, whatever you do, it's only on your conscience. Okay, but still, overwhelming yes. I may be bad at math, but 5 is more than 1. Okay, yeah, you're right. If you want to do the math here, 5 lives is more than 1 life. Okay, but can you really do math with human lives? So most people said yes, which is normal, right? Now, when I was first presented this question, I was in a class with thousands of other people, actually. Most students chose yes, I will pull the lever. I was amongst the few that said no, so I actually agreed with the people that said no. But to those that said, yes, I'm going to pull the lever, you're doing math, which is okay. Here's another one for you. Let's change the situation. You still have that same train, except now you're going under a bridge. And still 5 people were kidnapped and tied down to the rails. And if you don't do anything, the train will run them over. Now, standing over the bridge is a very, very fat man. He is so fat that if you push him over, his weight will stop the train. Now, that person will die but you saved the 5. So yes or no into the chat. Will you or should you push the fat man? Come on, people. Am I seeing this right? No, but seriously, people, are you going to push the fat man? Wait, what? Oh, wow, still overwhelming majority, yes. So you really don't see the difference. hold on. Pearson said no to pulling the lever because apparently you can't kill 1 to save 5, but he said yes to pushing the person. I mean, okay. No, the poor guy is just chilling. Did anyone actually change their answer from the previous one? If you said no to the previous one, you're probably going to say no to this one. I don't notice anybody changing the answers. So apparently a lot of you just still said yes, which actually surprises me because most people would then say no to this one because now it seems more personal because you're pushing a person to his death. That's a little different than pulling a lever, but astoundingly, you all said yes again. Okay, so this is not on the slide. I'm just going to go to this slide. Here's another situation. If you really are keen on doing math with human lives, how about this? You're a doctor, okay? And lying in your on your table are 5 patients. They each need an organ transplant, and they all need different organs. Okay? You don't have those organs, and they're going to die soon if you don't give them a transplant. And then one person shows up for a checkup. Okay, they're like, "Hey, I just want to get a full body checkup to see whether I'm okay." So you perform the checkup, and you realize, wait a minute, this person matches the organs of all 5 people. So you could kill that person, harvest that person's organs, and save 5. So yes or no into the chat. If you said no to both, you don't have to answer this. But if you said yes, are you going to kill that one and save the 5? If they consent, of course they're not going to consent. Okay, so now I'm getting more no's than yes. Okay, so finally, minus some crazy people, most people would say, yeah, no, that can't be right. You can't just walk into a clinic and just get murdered for your organs. Okay, that cannot be morally correct. So, okay, you're saying that's murder, but why isn't this murder? Same thing, right? If you're doing math with human lives, kill 1 person, you save 5 people. So that's worth it. That's a +4 in terms of the amount of lives. Okay, because you're a doctor. Okay, so now it's different because your job is to save people. Okay, I kind of get what you're saying. The point of showing you all of that is to get you thinking about ethics, how we perceive human lives. How do we value human lives? Can you do math with human lives? 5 lives versus 1. Do you always kill the 1 and save the 5? Or, is there something unquantifiable about people? So you can't do math. It doesn't really matter, okay? In biology, there's a lot of decisions, okay, most of which we won't touch in this lesson. We'll just talk about one of them. But there are many instances where it's not clear-cut what the right thing to do is, because any decision that you make will cause harm to some people. But is there a right thing to do? And also, if we're gonna invent cars that can drive themselves, autopilot, we need to consider questions like this. Okay, this is not just for fun, not just for philosophy class, but how we think about human lives is important, because how do you program that car? If you're going to run to a truck killing everyone on the truck. Or you can steer and hit that old lady on the sidewalk, killing only that one person. Should you do it? That's a question that a person will have to make the decision, and then we can judge that person afterwards. But if you're going to design a vehicle that drives themselves, then that computer should have an algorithm to always answer, okay, with a correct answer, just like this is chess. You see what I mean? Okay, so she's old. Okay, what if you have a nice, healthy person in their prime walking on the street? You see, so you have to consider. The computer is not going to quickly analyze that person. Oh, white hair, kind of frail, senile, old, hit. No, the computer is not going to do that. So you're going to have to come up with something more efficient. You see what I mean? So ethical questions are valuable, not just as a hypothetical. So before we can get to the controversy, stem cells, we need to have some background information. All right, so specialized cells. That's what we're going to start with. We have many cells in our body, okay, and they're all different. Okay, there are different types of cells. So for example, in the picture, you have neurons, which are brain cells, blood cells, muscle cells, white blood cells, those are the immune system, skin cells, and amongst others. Okay, so we're different cells. They all have their own function. They do their specific thing, and you get to live because they all work together. Now, single-celled organisms like bacteria, they have one cell, so they can survive just with one cell, but you can't. Okay. Anyway, how did these cells come to be? Because look, you started your life as one cell. When your parents' sperm and egg fertilized, you have one cell. How did that one cell become so many different types of cells? So they specialize, just like students in school, they will specialize into a field that they're interested in or good at, or they just picked one. But in university, you get to choose different things to pursue. You don't learn everything. Okay? In high school, it seems like you're learning all the subjects, well, because you're young. But when you get older, you get to choose which ones do I want to focus on, just like the cells do. Okay, so some animals, like a sponge, yes, sponges are animals. They're very simple. Okay, their cells pretty much look similar, and they reproduce by budding. They simply fall off, and now you have two. And more complicated animals like snails, they're mollusks, okay, so they have more types of cells. And then, yeah, even more complicated are the vertebrates, things with backbone, like birds, like humans, mammals. They're even more complicated. Okay, so things come in different complexities. And your body is organized in a hierarchy so that it goes from something big to something very detailed. And a good analogy of a complicated organizational structure is a school. At the top, you have the principal. Okay, whatever the principal says, yeah, that's pretty much the way it's going to be. And then under that is the vice principal. Sometimes the school doesn't have one. And then you have the managers, the different departments, and then you have the teachers. There are different subjects. I'm amongst that rank. And then you have the students, which are under the teachers. So I get to tell you what to do, but the principal gets to tell me what to do. So you see how this works? That's a hierarchy. Okay, in a company, much the same. You have the top, I think that's the CEO, and then you have the department managers, and then maybe under them they have smaller managers, and then the regular blue-collar employees. You show up 9 to 4, 9 to 5, and you basically listen to whatever the hell your boss tells you. That's how life works. That's how living systems work as well. So inside a living system, well, the highest level is the animal itself, but we're going to start small and go up. The smallest you can go, okay, the unit of life is a cell, okay? Cells make up tissues, okay? Different cells, they're sticking on each other to produce a structure called a tissue, like heart tissue. And then as the tissues grow larger, you have a bigger organ. Okay, and then that's called organ, like a heart. And then the heart is part of an organ system, the circulatory system in this case, that pumps blood all over your body. You have the veins, the arteries, the capillaries, the blood cells. They all work in tandem to keep you alive. And then an animal they don't just have one system. They have many of these systems all working together to make sure that the animal gets whatever the animal needs to survive. So the circulatory system is one of many systems that keep that deer alive. Okay, do you see the hierarchy here? Cells come together to make tissues. If you have a large enough tissue, we call it an organ. And organs are part of systems. And there are many systems to keep animals alive. Cells at work to learn science. I think I heard about that. I think, isn't it like a Japanese anime of like the body where people are cells, something like that? I think I've seen an ad for that. So speaking of organ systems, I talked about the circulatory system, but there's also the nervous system of the brain and your spinal cord. And then there's the respiratory system, the system that keeps you breathing, the digestive system when you eat and poop, the skeletal system, your bones, and the muscular system. The skeletal and the muscular, they make you walk. So you're able to move and you're able to stand. So all of these have different functions. We'll learn about all of these in this course. And there will be 2 lessons focused on all of the systems presented here. But today, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to be a little bit smaller than an organ system. So organs, there are different organs, okay? Most organs work within their system. Okay, for example, you have the brain, that is the nervous system. Okay, the intestines, that is the digestive system. They're in their own lane. But some organs, they work in multiple systems. So, for example, the pancreas is part of digestion, but that's also part of the endocrine system. So, different organs have different functions. They can be in one system or many systems, okay? And within the tissues, within organs, there are different types of tissues in your body. These are the 4 tissues. You need to know the names of these tissues and roughly what they do. Okay, you have the epithelial, that's your skin. And then you have the connective. That one is a bit hard to explain. That's like everything else, miscellaneous. Okay, for example, blood, bones, those are tendons, those are all connective. And then you have the muscle tissues, well, your muscles, that's quite easy to understand. And finally, nerve tissues, cells that can conduct electricity, the brain. So one at a time, the skin, okay, the epithelial tissue are your skin cells. What do? Well, they cover your body so that things can't go into your body so easily, and you don't lose water. Also, inside your organs move. Your heart is always moving. If your heart stops moving, we have a word for that, dead. So your heart will beat until you die. And if you just rub your hands together just for a while, you're going to feel a lot of heat. And if you continue to do it, the friction will eventually rupture your skin. Okay, so yeah, you don't want that. Your heart cannot stop. So inside, you have these epithelial tissue lining all of the organs so that they have low friction and they can get away with moving and rubbing against each other all the time without causing damage. Okay, so that's another important function of epithelial tissues. And you would have connective tissues. If you just look in the picture, it's kind of a mess. Connective tissues basically have a few functions, including support, like bones, for example. They support your body. Also, insulate, like the blood. The blood has many functions. One of them is to insulate your body, to keep you warm, the circulation, and also to transport stuff. Tendons, they hold things together. The white things between muscles, yeah, those are tendons. Okay, so bones, tendons, blood, just think holding things together. Okay, so these are the connective tissues. Moving on to the muscles, that one is the easiest. Without muscles, you don't move. Okay, you need muscles to move anything. The reason that some parts of your body can't move is because they lack muscles. Like your ears, for example. Some people can kind of move their ears, but the ears themselves, you can't flap your ears, okay, because there are no muscles in your ears. But you can move your arm, you can move your legs. Muscles are attached to bones. Those are the skeletal muscles. And muscles aren't attached to bone. Those are the smooth muscles. They all have one job: to move. Okay, and the last one, the nerves. Your brain cells are different than the other cells in your body. There are literally wires that conducts electricity from one cell to the other. Your brain is like a computer. It runs on electricity. So that's why when somebody's dying, we use a defibrillator, basically run an electric charge clear, that kind of thing. It runs a charge through the body to restart the heart, which is also charged by electricity, and so is your brain. Your brain basically thinks, it makes decisions, it keeps all the other organs working. Okay, it is probably the most important system. If your nervous system fails, then chances are you're going to die. Okay, so there are 4 types of tissues. Organs usually have all 4. Okay, you have the epithelial, connective, muscle, and nerve, because they're all useful for different purposes. Even in your intestines and your stomach, you need all 4. The epithelial, the skin, so that to reduce friction and hold things in. The connective tissue, to hold everything together. You have the muscles to move. Your stomach needs to churn and digest, and nerves, your brain needs to control it. So does that make sense so far? The 4 different types of tissues and how they make up organs, like a stomach. We good? I'm not seeing any questions. Okay, so now this finally, it brings us to cell differentiation. The word differentiate, that's a long word, but if you just break it apart, different, that's part of the word differentiate. It means different, not the same. Cell differentiation is a process where one cell makes an important life decision and becomes specialized in doing one particular thing, so they become one type of cell. Okay, and we call those cells stem cells. Stem cells are cells that have yet to make a decision. They're undifferentiated, and they have the potential to become any type of cell they want, really. It depends on what the brain and the DNA tells them. All right, so you guys, the analogy are students, you guys are still in grade 10. So you didn't make any commitment yet. In grade 10, most of your courses are mandatory. You have no choice. Like science, you have to be in this class, whether you like it or hate it. But starting in grade 11, you start to have choices. Okay, the only required courses for grade 11 are English and math. The other ones you can choose whether you want to take or not. Science, business, art, whatever. You get a choice. In grade 12, the only required course is English. You have way more choices. So you choose what you want to do with your education. You want to be a doctor, pick science and math. Okay, you want to be a business person. Okay, pick math and business. You want to be a linguist, pick the language courses. You want to be an artist, there you go, pick art, music, drama, whatever. You see what I mean? So different choices and you end up in different universities and different programs, you learn things that are useful to you. If you're going to be an engineer, you do not need to learn about the root of languages. Okay, that would be a course for linguists. So these are stem cells, just like students. They're trying to apply to whatever they want to be, and they will be that thing, and there's no turning back. Once you've committed, you don't really go back. Okay, once you become a nerve cell, you're stuck as a nerve cell. You can't just unmake your decision. Okay, so that's stem cells. Well, how do you have stem cells? There are two types of stem cells. You either have embryonic stem cells. So imagine that you're an embryo. Okay, sperm, egg come together, you have one cell. And then that cell, through mitosis, starts to divide into many cells. At this point, they're all the same. Okay, remember, mitosis makes identical cells. They're inside an embryo. An embryo is just a sperm egg coming together. You have a blob of cells. It's on its way to becoming a full fetus and eventually a person. That's an embryo. Okay, these cells are undifferentiated. You can then differentiate those cells into whatever the body needs. Okay, adults also have stem cells. If you're an adult, inside your bones, you have adult stem cells, but they can only differentiate into a smaller group of cells. For example, the stem cells in your bones, they have a choice between red blood cells, white blood cells, or platelets. Okay, go ahead and pick one. You cannot be anything else except those. You still have a choice, a limited choice. It's like if you decide to go into science, you have three choices: biology, chemistry, or physics. That's it. You can't decide to be a musician anymore because you're in science. Okay, real life is more complicated than that, but you get my point. In grade 10, you're the embryonic stem cells. You can pick anything you like. Okay, but if you have committed already in university, you can still kind of choose within your field. You're in science. You can pick which science do you want to be in. So that's the difference. Obviously, embryonic stem cells are better. Well, better in quotes because they have more choices. Adult stem cells, they're limited. Okay, so what? Well, you can see where this can lead to. Many people believe that we can use these stem cells to treat a lot of diseases and injuries that, where otherwise cannot be treated, because embryonic stem cells can be stimulated to become any type of cell. If you suffer, let's say, a spinal cord injury, you become paralyzed for life because your spinal cord is part of the nervous system. Those cells don't come back. Once they die, they die. Mitosis does not replace them. So if you bust your spine, you're in a wheelchair, like Christopher Reeve. He was the actor for Superman, and during one tragic accident, he was riding a horse, and then he fell off the horse. He broke his back, and he became paralyzed for the rest of his life. And he raised a lot of awareness about stem cell research because that could potentially treat his illness and make him walk again. But too bad, he died long before that. Even today, I don't think we have that technology fully developed. So if you have like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, these are disease of the brain. You can't really replace the brain, well, except with stem cells. You can just make it grow into new brain cells to replace the ones that have mutated and died. Okay, there are many things like multiple sclerosis, heart disease, diabetes. Literally replace your organs, grow a new one using stem cells. Okay, so this is extremely powerful if done correctly. So this is very promising. There's a lot of research going on in some places of the world. Now, there is a huge ethical problem. Anyone know what that problem is? Like, what do you see could be a potential ethical issue with this? Anyone? In the chat or into the mic? Okay, where do you get the cells from? Yeah, that might be a small problem. Okay, how are you going to get those cells? They don't just grow on trees. Like, you can't just harvest it from somebody. You can't just donate these cells because adult cells have already differentiated. And you can make a lot of organs and sell them from one patient. Oh, that went dark real quick. Sure. No, I never even thought of that one. I guess, yeah, if this becomes big, yeah, you could grow organs. But then again, listen, if you're able to grow organs, they're not worth as much anymore. The reason that organs sell for a high price on the black market is because, you know, you have to harvest it from real people. You can't just grow one. But if you can grow one, if you can synthesize one in the lab using stem cells, I don't think they're going to go for that much. So that wouldn't be as juicy of a business. So we take them from an egg. Okay, so now you're thinking, where do you get them? Embryonic stem cells, well, you need to get it from the embryo. You say you have to take a sperm and an egg, fertilize it. When that embryo is growing, around like 10 days or so-ish, you take that embryo, you rip out the stem cells, and you put it in a plate. Obviously, the embryo will die. And then you can now do experiments on that stem cell and try to get it to become whatever you want. If you are successful in that, you can transplant that into your patient. Okay, so that's the ethical issue here. Stem cell research entails the destruction of embryos. And many people take issue with that because an embryo is a clump of cells that is on its way to becoming a person with human rights. You can't just kill this potential person in order to save other people, which brings us back to, is it worth it to kill to save others? Okay. Okay, I see a lot of comments here. It isn't a person yet, though. See, that's how that depends. What do you mean by a person? Okay, how do you define a person? So they aren't a person until they are born legally. Sure, yeah, legally, but the law is not the same as morality. Okay, they're different things. The law is trying to uphold some kind of morality, but many laws are immoral. Your body, your choice. No, see, that's an abortion thing. Abortions are different. Okay, abortion, you can abort an infant, but this is taking a potential life and doing experiments with it, not just killing it, doing experiments with it. You see what I mean? Okay, so there's a lot of controversy here. So hold on, let me address these. What if you donate your eggs? Okay, so a lot of people saying you're only a person if you're born and you have a heartbeat. So there are some definitions according to the law, but again, there's disagreement. The law can be changed. Okay, so is it really ethical? If you donate it, of course you donate it. You're not gonna go up to a pregnant woman and say, "Hey man, can you do me a favor?" and then club and then take their egg. No, you don't do that. And that's definitely immoral. No, most of these are donated. In fact, they're not even inside of a woman. You don't get pregnant and go to a clinic. I would like to donate my embryo. That doesn't happen. Okay, what happens is you donate your eggs before they are fertilized, and then there are donated sperms, and you mix them up in a dish to in vitro fertilize the eggs, and then you harvest it. You're not going to take an embryo from a woman. Okay, so a lot of people are saying that, yeah, but like if they're still donated, why do you care? Okay, yeah. See, that's the general consensus for many people, which is why stem cell research is allowed in many places of the world. Okay, so a lot of people see no issue with this. But of course, there are people that do see issues. It depends on how you define a person. Some people believe that once a sperm fertilizes an egg, it is on its way to becoming a person. Uh, Basically, you're a person from the moment of conception when you're conceived. Sperm means egg. Done. That's it. So here is a map. I don't know how accurate this is. I found this on the internet after all. It color codes the restrictions on stem cell research. If you're red, there are heavy restrictions. Like the United States, the government does not fund stem cell research. Okay, you can privately fund it. The government won't care, but you will not get public funding because the United States is a very religious country. They even have debates on abortion. So the stem cell research is a big no-no for most of those people. A lot of countries in Europe, this might be really outdated because some student from those countries once told me that's not right. I'm going to believe them. If you're green, you have the green light to do this. It is funded publicly. Okay, some comments. Oh, wow. So there are tons of experiments on humans. Why not babies? Yeah, that doesn't make experiments right. If you don't like it. Okay, see, the issue is, yeah, it doesn't affect them, but the argument is that there could be a slippery slope. If we are allowed to experiment on unborn infants, what does that make us? What will we become? We will lose our humanity. The value of a human life has been diminished because now it is reduced to a thing that we can manipulate for our profits. Okay, so Immanuel Kant, a philosopher, once said that humans should not be treated as a means to an end, but as ends in themselves. That means humans should not be treated as tools, but as individuals deserving of respect. Yeah, it's their choice. Yeah, no, again, you're right. It is their choice, but the law needs to be very specific about these things. Like euthanasia is also another one. Like, can you help people kill themselves? Like, it's their choice, their life, right? But that is illegal in many places of the world because of its potential consequences. Okay. Well, yeah, in some like Canada, I think you can. In the Netherlands, you can, but in many other countries, it is illegal to help someone commit suicide. When do they take the cells? Like at what age for the fetus? Around 10 days old. It is not a fetus. Okay, a fetus has features. And we're talking about embryo, a clump of cells. Then it's not a human. Yeah, okay. Many people would agree with you. Okay, if you think this is fine, yeah, you're in good company. Many people agree with you that this is fine, but then there's also many people that disagree. So you can be very opinionated on this. I am personally pretty opinionated on this, but my opinion doesn't matter. I'm not here to sell my agenda. I'm here to present both sides, and you make your own decision whether you want to support this or not. What is my opinion? Again, my opinion doesn't matter. Okay, you don't have to agree with me. Like, this is not a matter of facts. It's not like we're discussing is the science correct. We're talking about whether this is the right thing to do. Okay, and that is less clear cut. So my opinion really doesn't matter. Okay, you're curious. Okay. I am in support of stem cell research because it has tremendous potential to save lives, save suffering sentient humans. Okay, so if you really want to know my opinion, in my opinion, the only things that are worthy of our considerations and morality are sentient creatures, not just humans, because some animals are sentient. Sentient means you're able to feel, you're able to think, you have self-awareness, you're capable of suffering. Okay, those individuals deserve protection and rights. If you don't have sentience, I mean, you don't have self-awareness, then the laws shouldn't protect you as much as it does for sentient creatures. So many arguments say that, well, you're killing potential humans, but I think the better argument is that that embryo does not have any sense of self-awareness, or nor the capacity for suffering, but an adult person in need of therapy does. So we should be able to use this technology to save them. You see what I mean? But that, again, is my own personal opinion. I know a lot of you agree with me, but I'm not here to convince you of that. And I know what the counter arguments are. So we're not going to start a debate on this one. Okay, what else do we have in the comments? Okay, a lot of you are agreeing here. Pros outweigh the cons. Right. I've been teaching this course for a while, and this topic comes up every time. Overwhelmingly, my students are in support of stem cell research. Okay? I don't remember any students actually objecting to stem cell research. Usually when people object to this, have religious grounds for doing so, because human lives are sacred and all lives are valuable. But yeah, I don't think I've ever had that. So anyway, let's move on. This is something that is not controversial. The next thing, cord blood cell banking. So if you're a baby, okay, now that you've grown into a baby, you're born. The umbilical cord, the thing that attaches to your belly button to your mother, the placenta of your mother, yeah, that is a rich source of adult stem cells. Okay, what you can do is, when the child is born, you can bank them, freeze it, and later, when the child is in need of some kind of transplant, you can then take those cells, your own cells, and use them to save your own life. Okay, so that's not controversial. That I'm just telling you that this is a practice that is being done. That's it. Yeah, okay. I know that a lot of people are religious and support it. And again, it depends on, people are different. They're religious to different extents for different religions, and people are different. Essentially, you can't really just, look at one thing and use that to define them. Okay, so what about adult stem cells? Right, there are many researches now that indicate even adult cells can be induced to be pluripotent. That means able to differentiate. I said that adult cells made a commitment. They're stuck. If you're a skin cell, you're a skin cell. You can't go back. But maybe now there are some research that suggests that you can make skin cells go back into their stem cell phase and pick a new type of cell. Yeah, I think there's a lot of research in Japan with regards to this. That is not controversial. Like, I mean, everyone can donate their skin cells. You don't kill the person. The harm to the person is negligibly small. If I can donate a piece of my skin to save somebody, yeah, okay, no problem. You see what I mean? So that's fine. If we can manage to use adult stem cells to do the same thing as embryonic stem cells, I think that the whole world will be in support of this. One example right now that can be cured using adult stem cells is leukemia, blood cancer. Okay, cancer with the bone marrows. Like I said before, your bone marrows contain adult stem cells that have a choice. They can choose to become a red blood cell, a white blood cell, or a platelet, the three types of cells that exist in blood. Okay, if you have leukemia, that means cancer with your bone marrows, here's what you can do. You can get a transplant. You use chemo to destroy all of your bone marrows because they have cancer, and then a donor, that someone willingly wants to donate their bone marrows to you, they can then transplant the healthy bone marrows to the patient, so that you're free of cancer. That is a treatment. Actually, if you have leukemia, that is the type of cancer where you have like the highest probability of successfully treating it, like around 90%. Okay, unfortunately, this technology wasn't around back then, so Terry Fox could not enjoy this, but today, this is a possibility. Adults have a lot less stem cells compared to children. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. The research is saying that we can take skin cells and revert it back into stem cells. So that it shouldn't matter how much you have if we can just turn any cell into a stem cell. But again, that is still a stretch. Maybe the science has updated and I'm not just immersed, I'm not read up on it. Another thing that we are seriously interested in is regeneration of lost limb. Okay, like salamanders, if they lose a limb, they will grow back. If you cut off their tail, they will grow back. Humans can't do that. Okay, if you lose a finger, yeah, that's going to be the rest of your life. That's not coming back. Since we share the same genetic code with all other living things, in their DNA, they have a section on how to regenerate lost limbs. We do not. If we can somehow learn how to do that, if we can somehow induce our own cells to grow, we can cure amputations. If you lose a leg, we can get it to grow back. Now, that is not something we can do right now. We have prosthetics for that, but that is something that is under research. And if one day this becomes a thing, then this will tremendously change the lives of many people. Okay, if you lose a finger, no big deal. Right now, if you lose a finger, just take that finger to the hospital, put it on ice, and if it's within a couple of hours, the surgeons can still stitch it back on. The nerves can still reconnect. You get your finger back. But if left for too long, the nerves die, then you lose that limb forever. But if you have tissue regeneration, that wouldn't be a problem at all. It will just, like a salamander or death pool, it will grow back. Okay, so that concludes this lesson here. A really hotly contested lesson, an opinionated lesson, although I think everyone in the chat agreed. We're debating people that are not here right now. So anyway, do we have any questions? Let me just turn off the recording.